No,
And let me do,
hold on. Cause then with the more,
what do you want to do? You want to do that?
all right,
We-
no, we're
Because,
good. We're good.
let's see,
All right
I
now.
want to do this, review and change less than full screen. So we can see some of these other.
But
or
it's
maybe not.
looking this way unless we turn around.
Right, well, so that's one thing I didn't know.
You can't do a reverse view.
No. You can, but I don't know if it's down for being, because usually when you have meetings, everybody has the camera off because they don't want to be seen.
Well, they're coming out from here now.
What's up?
Okay. You go back a bit. Open it up.
Is Kara.
All right.
Let me get the camera started.
I was saw the sound computer.
Okay, here we go. And we're gonna test your microphone because I'm not sure. That's always an adventure. Let's see. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, a little green. On the microphone, there's a little bulb that kind of.
All right.
Carol, can you hear
Yep, yes, I'm here.
it? Hi.
Okay.
I
All
get
right,
it.
we're gonna get started then.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we got a few people coming in. Great. Okay, as soon as people get to take a seat, we'll get started. In the meantime, welcome to the Carol's Cookies. And remember, I don't take anything home. Only empty bowls. That's all I take back are empty bowls. And we'll just roll that. And I brought some for the shredding event, but they were all crumbled. So this is to make up for that.
And we also have, as a takeaway, those who anybody not able to make the shredding event, I know you. We have some of the bags by AARP that are sitting in my living room, waiting for people to pass them out to their friends and neighbors. It got a nice little chip clip pin in it and all that kind of stuff. Help yourself. Early Christmas.
All right, so let's get started. And this is our penultimate meeting for 2021. We should meet again in December, but we can agree on that at the end of the meeting. So welcome. And moving to the, I know we've got the, I'm gonna move this around a little bit, okay? So the treasurer's report. We got meetings from October. They've been posted online. There were points, the bullet points were submitted. Are there any questions, comments on the corrections on the minutes for October? Okay. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Before we go further, since this is our first in-person, actually hybrid because we are online, and so people will be able to share with neighbors who are unable to attend tonight. But since this is our first in-person meeting of the year, I realize that it would be better to actually start with some introductions. So for those who should happen not to know, I'm Julia Lynn Walker, the president of FPCA.
Brian Curtis, I am secretary of FPCA.
And Barrett Wellness. Winston.
Roy Lowenstein.
Mika Johnson, VP at CPS.
JD Flanoy.
Will Willis,
Okay. Great.
unemployed Zoom operator.
Okay, great. So now we'll go back to the agenda and we actually we usually get a standing report from Roy and then we're also going to update on community engagement from JD. I know.
See,
We will start with
unemployed
JD.
spreading fast, man.
So, Nia, report that.
Yes, please.
Okay, sure. So NEAC,
Just speak up a bit for the recording.
yeah, sure. So let's see. At the last NEAC meeting, we've seated a couple of additional commissioners. And there was a spirited discussion about the next steps to try to get up to full speed, back to normal. There was going to be some bylaw changes for the new Exterior Commission. So the committee, which I volunteered myself to participate in as well. The bylaw committee is going to be amending bylaws. The city of Columbus is apparently trying to convince the area commissions to adopt similar bylaws as well as having elections all on the same day or week next year. So their Department of Neighborhoods is trying to move us more toward all doing things pretty much the same, which I can understand from their perspective. There's some pushback on some of that. So we'll see, but those are a couple of citywide things that are going on that are affecting the area commissions. And in any case, so there'll be bylaw revisions and chair, acting chair the Womack convinced folks of her position, to at least convince some folks of her position that we should delay electing officers at NEAC until after potentially there's an opportunity to amend the bylaws. So that is now something that would be happening in January. Some of us thought it might happen last week at the general meeting of NEAC. So that's not too much actually happened. There was some noise about it. I would say otherwise at NEAC.
Thanks, Fred.
There, a lot of time, more than an hour, was spent in debating the merits of 805 East Long Street, which is not in Franklin Park, but it was a major issue. Metropolitan Holdings, the same company that did the project on Parsons, that for 18th and Oak last year. Is that this year?
Yeah.
So long ago.
This year.
Any case, that ended up being voted down 6-5 after 70 minutes or so of debate. There really has not been, I would say, a controversial zoning matter in the Franklin Park area for some time. There have been a couple of small things, but I would have raised concern with you had something come before the commission that seemed like a hot one, looking for your involvement, for our involvement as a civic matter, but there hasn't been anything controversial that I can see. So that's a quick summary, kind of what's going on over there. We definitely, one thing that was said, I should pass along to you already know, in this discussion about election of officers, the Ross Womack, who is was elected to be vice chair, has been acting chair since June, when Bailey did not run for re-election. She made it clear she is not wanting to run to be chair. So it's clear that when the door is open for folks to run for that seat. I guess that's it. You want to add anything here? You're here, you are.
Some general things, I think, you mentioned, elections, another two things will be, city-wide elections to try and standardize on the election process. Sorry if I mentioned that.
I did mention, yeah.
Okay. And then,
That and the bylaws.
and then,
Okay. Okay, yes. Even though there may not be any significant zoning, it's right now with the FPCL, it's just good for us to know what's happening on the Near East Side overall. You know, so I think that's a good thing, just to keep up to date with, what's going on. Okay, then JB.
That's awesome. So I'm gonna pass out some notes. So as we introduced myself earlier, I'm JB Sonoy. I'm a member of the Community Engagement Committee. Actually, I've been just about 5 minutes kind of, explaining who we are, what we do, and how we can serve the Conservatory Civic Association. This committee was created recently, so it's fairly new. And the goal is to kind of bring the entire Near East together as one community, kind of create important conversations, working together, creating leadership opportunities and community service opportunities. Now, as we know, we already have planning and zoning committees in the act. And while those two committees are very important, I don't feel like, or we as a committee don't feel like they're meeting all of our needs as a neighborhood. The Near East is changing dramatically. We're having a lot of developments, there's new neighbors, and it's changing at a rapid pace. And so I think it's really important that we cement our voice as a collective unit right now. So if we don't do that, the neighborhood might change in a way that's not advantageous for those that have been living there for a long time. And so that's where this committee comes in. We think that by building stronger relationships with one another, that will enable us to have that collective voice. And even though we're a part of different districts, we should all have one same incentive to make the neighborhood better and stronger. And so our kind of idea to do that is by creating activities for each district. There's 3 different types of activities that we have. The first one is going to be a service activity. And the goal with that is to amplify the activities that are already happening within the community. So in District 1, we're planning to collaborate with them to help the Bethany Church top food truck. Now, this is something that has been going on for at least a decade. And even though I've lived here for 5 years, I never knew anything about it. And I didn't find out about the Bethany Church until I was at a community garden with Dr. Walker, and she just casually mentioned it to me. And that was the first time that I said, oh, wow, there's so many activities in the community that are happening right in our backyards. And so that's kind of the spirit of the Community Engagement Committee. We want to create an environment where people can have those organic conversations and learn about different things happening right in our backyards. I don't have to go to another neighborhood to serve the community. I can serve the community right here. So the Bethany Church meal prep is one. We also have cultural activities. Obviously, the Near East is rich in culture, history, diversity, etc. And I think the best way to preserve that is by engaging with the community, promoting the history, and educating people. Again, I've only lived in the neighborhood for about 5 years, so there's still a lot of things that I don't know. So having activities is something that will educate both new neighbors and old neighbors. And when we see development planners, I think, again, to reiterate, we have a collective voice to demand that that stuff is preserved. And then lastly, we're going to have social activities. These are just going to be like relaxing times. We can let our hair down. We can really get to know each other in a low pressure situation. The garden, community gardening I've been doing that a lot recently, and it's been so much fun. It's been low pressure, and I've learned so much about the neighborhood and different opportunities I have to better serve. And I think that if neighbors know that those types of activities exist, you're more likely to get engagement. So I'm basically here to ask Franklin Park Association, how can we better support you guys as a city? When we created this committee, we had to come up with a preliminary idea and schedule of activities. It's worth noting that none of these activities are set in stone, but we did have to come up with a couple brainstorming ideas. And one idea we had for District 4 was revolving around the trolley barn. I think we're all pretty excited about that coming to the neighborhood. So one idea we had was to maybe do like a history tour of the trolley barn. Alternatively, another idea we had was to do like a business conference report where we can support local businesses here in District 4. But again, we're not the experts on what your needs are. So this committee is going to be going to all the different districts, asking for your guidance, your leadership, and kind of instructing us on how we can better support you guys through logistical support, promotional support, and volunteer support. So if this is something that you're even remotely interested in, I'll be here to answer questions, comments. My contact information is here. We have meetings every first Thursday of the month at the Neighborhood Pride Center on East Broad Street. They're from 6:30 to 7:30. And yeah, thank you
Okay,
for your time.
right, okay, so remember when Commissioner Kate Curry came and brought this to us, when we were first discussing it. Any immediate short questions or comments for JD?
So when you meet at the Pride Center to participate in those meetings, you have to be there live, you don't record them?
Yeah, so currently they are live. And so we have someone that's going to be taking notes, sending out meetings. So what I will do is I'll pass out some sign-up sheets where you can sign up to receive information. So if you aren't able to attend the meeting, we will get information out to you about what we're planning, who we're collaborating with, et cetera. But right now the meetings are live.
Okay,
When are you starting the?
So right now, the month of December is going to be focused on District 1.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're having, as noted in the notes, we're helping Bethany Church, and then we're also going to have a historic tour of the 50th Symbol and Theater. And so January was our idea to maybe collaborate with District 4. Now, again, we don't want to come to you guys demanding a schedule or the activities. So that's why we're sending people out from the committee to each district to ask, does
Okay,
this-
actually, I wanted Tamika to do just a 2-minute, our current, schedule of activities, the kinds of things that we're already doing.
Cool, that'd be great.
Just,
Yeah, so we have our every month, the last Thursday of each month, we have our, meetup, which is hosted at the restaurant bar. So that is my opportunity for the common neighbors.
Right.
In addition to that, when it's warmer outside, we do, our monthly walk. So every first Saturday, we will walk around our meetup outside the building, and or again, our community connect. We also, when it's warmer outside, we do the sleep trucks, where we have the search trucks come out here. Again, it's a very like social event. So actually came come and we have some ideas here, and that's great.
Right.
Together, out here, and great opportunity for neighbors. With us going into the colder months, we'll have to move our member who does that.
all right, and then we're actually doing our own tour of the trolley barn next Monday.
Oh, wow.
So that'll be discussed later, but, so yeah, we can talk about something later, but just so you can have a sense of some of the things we're already
Great.
involved in and currently
That's
doing.
really helpful.
do you guys follow us on Facebook or Instagram?
I don't personally, but I want to.
Yeah. You have to.
Everything you want to know is on Facebook
Yeah.
3 times a week.
Right. We put everything up, right, Brian? Everything. Okay, so,
I have one other idea for an activity.
Sure.
It's not the most fun ever, but the last spring, I think it was, I went and one of our friends lives further west in Hope County. And they do a cleanup,
yeah,
like on some Saturday, and we went and, we did it, and like, of course, it died out around Wilson Avenue. And, I feel like, I don't know if we do anything like that in the neighborhood, but like, if you have quite a few people going around with bags and picking up something, there's quite a difference in one day. Now, of course, new garbage will be done, but
yeah,
some days it's really depressing. I feel like, because I walk the dogs, a few times a week.
Yeah.
It's like, sometimes I don't feel, because I do pick up trash right around. a
Right,
block,
right. My sense though is it's the bulk pickup. That's what I'm getting from neighbors, concern isn't the day-to-day trash along the curb. It's the bulk pickups that are being illegally dropped at people's garbage or outside their fences.
Right.
That's really the challenge for our community, as far as I understand it. But yes, and I know along Earth Day in April, almost all the gardens do a pickup. And so there are some activities, but I think for those who are interested, Case been to us, we've had a report, they're up and running. He's got the meeting dates, sign up if you can't come, so at least you get information, share ideas, and we'll see as well about structuring activities through our own committee. Okay, thank you, JD. Okay. Our treasurer's report, who is not here.
So, we had a lot of expenses because we had the shred event, which we were talking about a bit later. We had our regular expenses for like Zoom. Shred event for refreshments there. There's a donation from Tina Treasurer from the shred event, and they are being reimbursed us funds for the shredded event, and then we paid $750 to all shred. So our current balance as of now is the checking account is $5,884.22. 5,884.22.
And thank you. So we'll receive the report for audit. Tamika.
So for events,
Yes, please.
for events, we have
And we have, I met, is it Alicia or Aisha? Alexia. I should have just, looked at my Alexia. Alexia is one of the people that we met, and she actually scanned the QR code. Everybody know what a QR code is?
Yeah.
She scanned the QR code. That didn't include you, Fred. And she scanned the QR code, saw a link tree that has a link to all our things, including our meeting information, and that's how she found us. Yeah.
It works.
It works.
See?
Yes, so I know, I was making the same, the 20 years for the next year, no one,
Mhm.
so we'll continue to do that. We probably will skip December because that's Christmas, but we'll start, maybe skip December and then we'll pick it up.
In January.
No, February.
Well, February.
Yeah, we'll skip, skip December and January. We look at February.
So the holidays kind of throwing us off a bit because we have Christmas and then we have the Mingos, which is in January. So I think right now all of our energy is being pushed into the Mingos. So once we make the progress of Mingos,
So part of that may be some themed events. So not just, February is Black History, later, something else. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Anything else on activities and events?
All I have.
Okay, a little cold out there. I know that's right.
Yeah, most of our meetings are outdoors, especially with COVID. So
Right.
now with, the weather turning to a little cold, we're going out there.
Okay. Public and member is Nick, but he didn't say anything. No.
So I just want to remind people that we have a YouTube channel also. Not everybody subscribes to Facebook. Not everybody does Instagram, but YouTube, a lot of people. You can't tell me you don't use YouTube. Can't tell me you don't use YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, and one of the most recent additions is we have the photos from our shred event.
Yes.
Starring JD and other people in this room who were there. Thanks again for all your help. But we have that video on our YouTube channel. We'll be adding other recordings of our meetings, all our recorded meeting histories on there, and special events will be on there as well.
Yeah. The one thing I want to just bring up for people to think about, and we're doing the first Fridays, and first Friday is dropped off. And there were some issues in terms of, some of the technical issues and also some interest. There is some interest in, from one or two people in terms of doing some activity, but I would hope that we would have a broader discussion as to whether or not we continue first Friday. And if so, I've said all along, it would be really nice to have a calendar like 3 to 6 months. So we can just put it out there and say, this is it, as opposed to we're scrambling the week ahead,
Exactly.
trying to figure out something. So give some thought, and then in December, it'd be nice if we make a decision on first Fridays.
Yeah, and the event committee also, which were everyone's, themes of you, animation, you, please not after me.
Okay, good. Member, public and member relations?
That was it.
Anything for
That was
Nick?
it.
That was it, okay. And then, Kim,
Okay, at the last meeting, I brought up the scooters.
Mm.
This is interesting. But after spending a couple days on waiting list,
Wow.
which is the only contact we use, because there is no contract with the city for these items.
Mhm.
There are 3 different companies, and the only requirement that they have to meet is permit for the corrals. I find that disappointing and a little bit responsible, but because we don't even have corrals in this neighborhood.
okay.
They dumped them all off. They cleaned out the short one, they dumped them here. And so I couldn't find a single permit for like these companies for our neighborhood, yet they're laying everywhere. So I am up for recommendations. The only thing we really have left to do is to address it with city council, but I don't know how much traction that's gonna get.
Mhm.
So, I mean, if anybody has any ideas, because they're laying in mud puddles. They're everywhere.
Mhm.
And, in our very, very near future, we're gonna have so many traffic and parking problems that this just adds to it. The woman I talked to at 311 even told me that one had rode into her car and they all got away after they did damage to her car. They also had people stealing handbags in the short north and getting away.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I couldn't find anybody to tell me what makes it okay to dump this stuff off in our neighborhood that it was not good enough for the short north. I mean, I need to know what the distinguishing, or are they just letting the scooter companies? It sounds like they're just letting the scooter companies decide what they want to do. I mean, these things aren't regulated. Yes, Will.
There was an article in the Dispatch, I think I put a copy in our files, and it talked about this very same problem that Kim talked about, and it's a national problem, unfortunately. I mean, they multiply faster than rabbits, these daggone things. But what they also did is they published I think the phone number and email address of the head of all the scooter companies. So I would suggest bombarding them with emails, with specific information about scooters being just left all in the right of way, too many in one location, and you can copy the media, and they will kind of keep that fight alive, much like they did with the building on Brighton Road. Because that story caught fire in the media, the city backed down. Okay, I think same could happen with the scooter companies. If you put enough pressure, spread the fact that you're applying pressure to all the media outlets, and we have a list of every media contact in Franklin County, they will say, well, people over there are upset. Companies, what are you going to do about it? Okay, so that's my suggestion.
Well, interestingly enough,
Mhm.
when you call 311, try to get information on this, they actually transfer you to the scooter company.
Oh, really?
But it's a customer service person who knows nothing. Because I had that conversation.
Well,
But if enough people complain, they
Well,
won't notice.
in writing, to me, if it's not in writing, it didn't happen, is the way I was raised. People can say, I didn't get the call, I don't remember talking to you, but if you send a letter and copy it to 20 people, over time, I firmly believe that will get results.
Lastly, and this kind of intersects with Will's committee, but this parking and traffic thing, we're really gonna have to get on it. I mean, if they're gonna be building stuff all over the place and be short 60 parking spaces would impact blocks of the people. Do you guys know that in the university district, well, we all know the short north is a mess, but the university district as well, I mean, people are paying a couple $100 a year to park their cars, and then you have to get a special permit for visitors. And how you can have a party. Your neighbors are gonna be seeing it all the time. This is crazy. It's not community friendly. And if we don't stay on top of this, it's going to have a pretty serious impact. I mean, there's a lot of people here that actively ride their bikes and run around and stuff. But you know what? I can't carry 4 bags of groceries home. And not being able to, park something relatively close to the house. Because not everybody has room. So, I mean, I'm really.
Okay, can you please do a list of the companies with their email addresses? And let's post that on our social media and distribute it as part of our points, our bulleted points. So then people should respond actively, because it's true. I mean, you see piles and piles of these things, and it's really hard to do anything else. Alexa?
Yeah, I was just gonna, I don't know if it's going to, but I was gonna say one thing to add to the complaints about that is it's a major accessibility issue.
Yeah.
For people who are blind or with mobility, it ruins the community of mind and pain. And then suddenly there's an audience in the way in the sidewalk.
Right.
So that's a student issue.
Right.
Excellent
So
point.
definitely a good point for city council.
Exactly.
Okay. Any other comments for Kim? Always, we're trying. Keep trying. We keep trying.
We could hide the scooters.
Right.
Well, what pissed me off is I actually was.
I didn't say that. I didn't say
Was in my car with the CVE, and the story was right there about how it was too much problem for the short north.
Right.
And as I turned onto Franklin Park,
It is.
I was behind a truck dumping them off within 10 minutes of that being on CVE. I could not believe it. I'm like, and I'm not, and they were all over the neighborhood, just dumping, taking straight to the short north and dumping them.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to development. Well,
as Julie Lund indicated, we have been in constant contact with various representatives of the trolley district, as it's now called. And the president of that initiative, Brad DeHaze, has agreed to provide a tour to us this Monday from 5 to 7. Now, I'm not sure what your expectations are, but my expectations is that we provide a good portion of that time for him to tell us why he thinks the trial district is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then the balance of the time, while we tell him all the concerns that we haven't been able to get directly to him, because he hasn't been accessible in terms of parking, safety, light, noise. And my ultimate hope is that even though we won't solve those problems next Monday, that he will agree to a follow-up in which we'll find a way to work through those things should they arise, okay?
But also more formally,
Mhm.
I'm really pushing for a good neighbor agreement. There are documents that you can construct between entities like the trolley district and the neighborhood association to say, this is how we see ourselves working together. We've raised it, there's been some, well, we don't know what you mean, but I think that, it's important to just really clarify. And I mean, we talked even from the beginning of the day, because Otina was floating around in there, and we've got that out now. It is trolley district at Franklin Park, so that's there. But I think that it is important to have some clear tenets of the relationship, so that there's clarity on both sides. Not knocking down everything, not dotting every I and crossing every T, but having some broad parameters on which we agree to cooperate.
Exactly.
So this is not the meeting to do that document, but it's definitely the meeting to continue the discussion. So, and as we to talk about our concerns, the issues.
And I just want to close my part by saying that Brad did copy a person on his staff who I believe will be coming with him. And I don't know this person. He used to have another person who was our point of contact, who's no longer with the organization. So hopefully that, and I understand Brad's got 1,000 things going on, but that he will appoint someone specifically that we can call anytime with any kind of concern that we have and work through the process that we established to get it resolved.
So,
Because I'm sure he doesn't want to call.
because everything in the paper now says all the tenants are confirmed, all the spaces are, so it should be full steam ahead. We know there continue to be some issues in terms of supply chain nationwide, but in terms of, the basics, everything is full steam ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Roy?
In addition to whatever concerns we have about safety, traffic, parking, the other issue there is with the trolley district is, to what extent is it going to serve the needs of the neighborhood as opposed to just being a moneymaker? Because I have a feeling that as we get down to what actually is going on in the bigger building, the market, we may find that all that's really there for the neighborhood is potentially some nice restaurants, places to go have a drink and have a nice meal. And a lot of the rest of it may turn out to be very expensive stuff. I mean, if you go, you just watch what the evolution is at the North Market that's been there forever, it's less and less over the years become a place to shop and more just a tourist destination and a place you can buy $15 a pound cheese. And I have nothing against nice cheese. I'm just saying that's not something that is going to be of particular value except to a very narrow slice of our community. And we understand that things need to make money, but still. So there's this niche there, possibly. I'm just throwing this out there. We're trying to explore, is there any way we can work together? Because it is all about money. It's not like we have a lot of money, but I mean, maybe we have some ability to help raise money for something that might have a broader community impact. I don't know. I'm just sort of throwing that out there, whether there's some place there where we can interface to the good of the neighborhood.
Okay, Kim?
It might be a good idea to see if we can negotiate at the farmer's market or growers market during the summer months there. You know, that way there would be some less expensive local produce.
Okay, my understanding is there's a green grocer, and putting a farmer's market would be direct competition with Franklin Park, because they have the Wednesday farmer's market. So, I was just involved in a community mapping exercise, and it's very interesting that, there is nothing in Franklin Park. That's the whole part of the trolley district. We have no commercial activity but for Ardella and no, Kroger's not in our district.
Yeah, it is actually.
Okay. But
It's
not-
inside the creek.
All right, the Kroger? No.
Yeah, our
Okay.
boundary goes to Allen Creek. Kroger's on this side of Allen Creek. Kroger and the bike trail.
Okay, and it has never been my understanding that Kroger was in Franklin Park, so that's interesting. Yeah, so in terms of this community mapping, there were X number of dollar stores in Otena and Shepherd. There's all kinds of, these small corner stores in Brownsville. There's nothing in Franklin Park, literally. Okay, now I know you say, Kroger, and I'm gonna rethink that, but seriously, we've got that alcohol, the liquor store on Main Street, the liquor drive-through on Main Street, and that's it. And literally, there are no corner stores in Franklin Park. There isn't.
What's one on Wilson?
No, it's west of Wilson, not east of Wilson. It's east of Wilson, seriously. There really isn't. So when we talk about, that's why it's important, I want this good neighbor agreement with the trolley barn, is how do we make sure that it remains consistent with the interests of the area, but then we have to know what the interests of the area are. Because some of the things that we're saying may be inconsistent with what the general population may actually want. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that unfolds. Because even in terms of pantries, I think we came up with 3 pantries in Franklin Park, and they're like a dozen in north of Broad Street. Yeah.
Well,
So, Lynn?
and even mapping is very interesting, I hope that learn more about that. Because I always kind of wonder about those different things. But in regards to the trolley barn, I mean, at least with the list of people, pretty much it's food courts. It's not really.
Yeah, it's food hall,
it's
yeah.
not-
Yeah.
It is not grocery oriented unless like the pasta is one thing. You'll probably be able to get finished pasta, but you can take pasta home. Buy it. So I think that it truly is a food court, and I would think that the agreement, and I'm sorry that in all this time that they haven't talked about doing an agreement with the neighborhood, but they do have entertainment spaces, so they could also want the meetings to be happening there.
Right.
And
That's
gatherings,
what come
and
up.
I think that's, you're right, we have to show them that there are a lot of resources in this community that are going to benefit them.
Well, I
Yeah.
just remember what was said when they were trying to sell the concept.
Mhm.
Right.
Now, I mean, those weren't things we could hold them to legally, I get that,
Mhm.
but morally,
Right.
like and I'm not surprised, that there'd be some retreat from the bold words that were said that, trying to promise community benefit, but like, if it turns out that there's nothing left from that stuff, I think it becomes time to not just talk about a good neighborhood agreement, but also, what opportunities are there for, I don't know, entrepreneurs in our neighborhood to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had that.
And they have that.
licensing or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
that's all. I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So my experience is community benefit is a moving target, okay? What people prioritize as important community benefit at one point in time can change and will evolve over time. But what ties it together is communication. That is what the agreement is about. Agree to talk. If you have anybody else in your life, you get things done by talking and communicating with them. That's what we're talking about here. a mechanism for ongoing communication as broad and as frequent as can be, so that they can know what's on our mind and we can know what's on their mind. And hopefully over time, we'll be on the same page in terms of community benefits. But if we don't talk about it, if we don't express it to them, if they're not listening.
One meeting, I brought up employment.
Yeah.
And I was saying that it would be important for whatever employment opportunities were available to be shared with us so that we could share with the community as a whole. And he immediately came back with, there are a lot of places they're gonna need waiters and whatnot. And I was like, no. It was very interesting that his mind immediately went to, I had to be talking about, $10 an hour jobs. And I was like, that's not what I'm talking about at all. So it was an interesting discussion from there. Yeah, Lynn, and then we'll pull this to close.
Franklin Park, Farmers Market, do not assume they want to keep it like this. They're not happy. I've had many conversations with them over the summer. They won't say that they're not happy with it, but it is not happy. It is not meeting their goals. And I really encourage us to get into this.
I'm sorry, what were you talking about?
The Franklin Park Farmers
The
Market.
Conservatory.
Do not assume they want
The
to keep it as
Conservatory.
is.
Right.
I've actually, for 2-3 years, actually encouraged them to move it back here. But it could still be called the Franklin Park Farmers Market. It
Yeah.
could still be collaborated with them
Right.
and over there.
Mhm.
I think that they need to
That might
see
be it.
themselves in a different way too. With that.
Okay, all right, so we're gonna pull this to a close. No, okay. And I do hope that as many people as possible are available to participate next Monday, signing up through, you have a
FP Civic.
FP Civic. Okay. All right,
Mr. Wallace, what time is the course?
5 o'clock.
5, yeah.
5 o'clock next Monday.
5 to about 6:30. Well, he may be there till the other guy may be there till 7, but he said he has to leave at 6:30.
6:30.
Mhm.
Right, okay, development,
Anything else? I mean,
that's it? Okay, all right. Nonprofit status.
nonprofit said, oh, I'm so glad, yes.
Yeah.
At our last meeting, as our minutes reflect, we voted to approve the changes in the bylaws. There are copies up there. If people didn't get a chance to go online, you have 30 seconds to review them and make any additions, corrections, suggestions. I'm being facetious, but I'm also trying to be efficient. But seriously, we'd like to pass it so we can move on to the next steps of presenting a set of bylaws to the Internal Revenue Service that will give them comfort with us eventually become a 501c3 organization.
Okay. Shred day.
Well, I need a motion to.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I need a motion to approve, and then I want to have a little signing ceremony right here. Do we vote?
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
All right.
Can I
So
sign?
now I'd like to take a picture for evidence that they are being signed as approved on today's day by our chair and our secretary.
Really historic.
Now, remember this when the NEAC bylaws get,
Yeah, photographic evidence.
So the shred,
Brian, I'm gonna have to pop out that shirt.
so the shred event was last Saturday. Last Saturday?
two,
Yeah.
I lose track of my day.
Wow, same here.
Saturday, so.
Thank you.
It was at the Pride Center on Broad Street, and we had a really great turnout. I believe we had near 60 cars come through, and about that many loads, but as soon as we set up, I think we started at 9, people were there right away.
Mhm.
They're back, ready to unload, so. A lot of people had a lot of stuff to unload, people were really happy and thankful that they had opportunity to shred all of their stuff, all their confidential paperwork. So I think it was a great event, and it was a successful event.
yeah.
It was, and I thought what made it really exceptional, and I've been to other shred events, probably have too, was the energy of our volunteers. I mean, people were out there dancing. I'm not calling any names. But people were out there dancing, you know, socializing. People, customers expressed to me and others how much they appreciated the courtesy and the welcoming spirit of our volunteers as they came up, you know. Thanks for coming. Oh man, you know. And so, and then we got notices on our social media. Oh man, I missed it. When's the next one? I said, next year.
Right.
Not next week, next
Right.
year.
There
Yes,
were,
ma'am.
yeah, 'cause there were people who were like, are you gonna do this monthly? We're like,
Nah. Yeah. Fred, did you want to say something? Oh, I thought you, okay. Yeah.
I was there too, and I echo everything that's been said. I was amazed at how many people wanted to donate money.
yes.
Hello.
That was one thing we would not.
Yeah, monetize.
Next time we do it, we might want to think of a way to allow that to happen. People are so fine.
Right.
Yeah, so Tina's treasurer gave us $40.
Yeah.
If I would, yeah, if there was one weakness, it was that people, we were not prepared for donations. And, you know, we didn't have a receipt book, anything. We just weren't comfortable taking the money without some formal process. So we just told them, thank you very much, and go online. And, you know, I don't know if that's gonna work, but we definitely should know that any event we have, we should be prepared to take donations.
And in the spirit of collective community engagement, I want to thank JD and Eric for coming from District 1 to help us out. Yeah. That's the spirit. We just put out the call and they answered, stayed the whole time, and we really appreciate that.
It was very fun.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. But now, and some of the people did not observe the guidelines. So the 5 boxes, I mean, we just said, okay. 'Cause, I mean, people came up in there with 10, 15, I mean, easily.
Well, but
15
it averaged.
Yeah, average. So, you know, but it also spoke to me. But in all seriousness,
Yeah.
what I wanted to think about is, as overall, even though it was an event in collaboration with the AARP, overall, the cost of the event was about $1,000.
Mhm.
And I think that we do need to be aware of that and say, you know, 60 cars, does that justify? How do we, you know, now, you know, it's always kind of hard to quantify, but we did have a lot of social media beforehand. I mean, there was something different every other day. You know, we put out there and different organizations picked up. So I think as an organization, we got a lot of exposure. We could have had more. We could have shared it with the Bexley alert, you know, because they have a monthly alert. You have to do it a month ahead of time, but we could have shared it. So I think we have to look more closely at how we can build awareness of it ahead of time to justify that kind of cost.
Yeah.
We didn't bear it all ourselves,
Yeah.
but I still think we need to be aware that that's to me, that's a heavy cost for 60 cars.
Well,
We also need to look at other shred events around the same time, because I know
Yeah.
there's one in Berwick that we talked
Yep.
about before.
Right.
So maybe just making sure we kind of do a survey of other shred
Yeah.
events.
but we did talk about making it bigger, but then that does not come without cost. We'd have to hire a off-duty policeman, and you know, there's a variety of other kind of considerations when you pump up the scale. But I think for us, you know, that was our sweet spot. There was not, the only time we weren't busy was when most of us got to take a group picture at the end. Yeah, but the rest of the time.
After certain people left. Okay,
Sorry about that.
anything else on Shred Day?
Oh, and Madam Chair, if I may back up, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the people who helped with the bylaws get this across the finish line. Our
Oh, yeah.
secretary and historian, Brian Curtis, and
Yeah.
our expert bylaws editor and reader, Roy Lowenstein. Let's give him a hand.
Okay, Mingo.
Yes.
Tamika, are you doing Mingo?
I can start it.
Okay, I have a music update.
Okay. So we have committee for the bingo. Mr. Wilson, I don't know if you want to get the thing on the music.
Okay, we're saying December, January 23rd. And generally, it's been an evening, 6 to 9, but there's a proposal on the table to make it an afternoon event. I'm actually waiting, I called Franklin Park this afternoon to see if we could get confirmation on availability, and the guy wasn't in, so we'll come back as soon as we can, but it'll be good to hear tonight. The discussion is that one, we're having an in-person event here in the Palm Room, and as we always have, as we traditionally have had. And yet people are still cognizant of some of the COVID implications and restrictions. And so because of that, then we want an activity, it's in person, but there's still restricted interpersonal engagements. Now, what does that mean? We talked about having activities where people can get to know each other, but not games where people are actually going to use the same or touch the same piece of equipment or the same object or the same toy or whatever. Okay. We talked about having the food pretty much catered and or if not catered, served to minimize interaction with various folk. Okay. And
And just want to add something to that, with the food, we also have discussed maybe doing more of like a earlier event and going with the earlier.
but that was the next year.
Yeah, doing more of like a seafood, some more like beverages and then dessert, and not really doing a full.
Right.
Right.
So that would be other things. So that would be an evening, what is pretty much the evening, but if we move to an afternoon, it's almost like an afternoon tea. So it's with desserts or a small kind of handheld, but again, it would be pretty much catered and or funds distributed to a set number of people who would prepare the food among the Franklin Park Association. So that, again, there's a limit on the number of people who are actually involved, and the assumption is that the people who are involved will observe, also hygiene issues in terms of the food preparation. So those are some of the discussions that we had as the executive committee.
Yeah, and one of the points, the earlier points was making sure we take precautions. And I know we discussed having everyone mask and either requiring some additional like precaution, whether you're vaccinated or you're willing to say you got tested before coming.
Yeah, so I mean, we're not going to put people at the door, but we are going to say.
That's our expectation.
Yeah, our purpose, yeah.
I just wanted to engage, like, what are your thoughts on putting that out and having those requirements for the event?
Yeah, Fred, are you?
One thing I did was I went to a event at Lincoln Center, and they did have people checking for who was vaccinated and nothing was vaccinated.
Yeah, with the choir, Central State Choir.
No,
another one. Yeah. So there have been several events where people are at the door, and you do have to show your COVID card, and then you do have to wear a mask, and
Was that a free event, sir, or paid?
The one I went to was free.
Well, I'm just saying, free events, people obviously react differently to free events than pay. If you have a ticket, I mean, you're gonna kind of do what you need to do to get your money's worth. If it's free, you just say, I'll go home and watch Netflix,
No, ours was packed. It was a free event, it was packed.
Oh, with that, that's good.
Even at the Ohio State Games, they make people do a temperature read
Right.
when you walk in the stadium. I mean, come on. I mean, I'm fine with asking people for their card. I mean, if you don't want to be vaccinated, that's your right, but that's, the effect that has throughout the community is not what you would expect.
What she said.
Okay,
Right.
I'm really surprised that actually as a community, we aren't doing more of this where, you know, where you have to show proof of vaccination and or a recent negative test. It's like, I thought that's where the whole thing was gonna move to.
right.
You know, not just here in Columbus, but I mean, I thought that's how we were gonna rescue ourselves from being, you know, isolated, was to have safe spaces where we could gather. So I'm all in favor of that. I realize that there's certain people who would be left out by that. I don't know what to do for that. You know, I think that's, in a lot of cases, sort of a self-inflicted thing. I don't know what to do about it. But, you know, I just think that when you, having been to a couple of these mingles, few of them now, it's like they are gatherings of people eating in fairly close proximity to each other, and you can't really eat with a mask on. So it's like, we would like to know that the people around us have a low risk to us, and I don't see how you can really accomplish that without requiring some evidence.
Right.
Well said.
Is there,
If it was a different time of year, if it was an outdoor event, then I would say something different about it.
Yeah.
But an indoor event like that, the other thing is, I don't know how good the ventilation is in that space. Ventilation is a big deal. It doesn't strike me as a space that has a lot of ventilation in it. The other thing, last thing I want to say about it is, that's still 2 months away. And we don't know whether this is going to get worse again and that kind of thing. So we have to be willing to be flexible and reevaluate some choices that we're making about it. Because for all we know, it's really going to peter out or it's going to get worse. So I think we have to be able to make some adjustments a few weeks ahead to see what are the final precautions going to be.
Well, the numbers are fine.
They are, but I just read some today where no one expects it to become like last winter. So I don't
it's still
know.
bad. Well, we don't. Okay. In terms of afternoon, evening, any preferences? Would you like to try an afternoon instead of, and the other thing was that people said, well, the afternoon would get more youth participation. People would bring their whole family as opposed to, you know.
Okay, I have a couple questions.
Okay.
A big part of the requirements for the conservatory when we've been over there is that we have a bar.
Right.
So if we have a bar in the afternoon, it's not gonna do any business. You think? I mean, and I think that's gonna be a point of contention with that. I really do. Because that was.
Okay, I mean, I can put it, you know, listed as a, you know, okay,
Maybe
what
late
else?
afternoon? Maybe more like late afternoon, is that sort of
Like 4 to 7.
yeah, something like that. Or we
Okay.
can still go home and
Almost happy hour kind of.
Yeah, I like that one better. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I get
such
your
a
point.
beautiful event at night. I mean, because it's just. I
It
don't
get-
know.
yeah.
All right,
It's
but
more-
the issue
it's more-
is there would be more participation by people with younger children if it were earlier. And so we're looking at the demographics of the community changing. Yeah. You had a couple other points?
I'm good.
Okay.
And so, on that point, in the past, it's been 3 hours. Do we want to shoot for 3 hours or last year we did 2 hours? Do we want to shoot for 2 hours? I mean,
they have kind of petered out toward the end though, when there were 3, weren't that? is what-
oh yeah, people would hang out, yeah.
Well, I think if you have them earlier, people will probably linger longer. You know, if we do the happy hour kind of route, I think people will, you know, because 7:30 is still not too late. Kids
Right.
don't have to be bed by 7:30, right? Most of them.
Right here.
This is 7:30.
We got that's good here.
This is pretty dark out there. Right? Okay. All right, so we'll look at both of them.
Well, one other thing though, about times, The last time it was in person, it was still somewhat restricted, but there was an opportunity to do sort of an after hours walk around the conservatory.
Right, that would still be available.
Would that still be available?
Yes.
even If it was
Afternoon,
earlier?
yes,
Oh, okay.
That'd be
that's
a
part
big
of our
problem.
contract. That's always been the draw, is that they are, and it's very interesting for many people, it's the only time they come through the
Yeah,
conservatory
it's amazing.
is during our mingle.
Have you been to the conservatory? You said you haven't been to World.
I've been to the.
Okay,
I have done that.
Just looking for a live, you know.
Okay, I just want to back up and say, and we'll come to this discussion. Last year, really through the diligent issues of Kim, this is 2020. She raised close to $3,000 from different businesses with donations. And then our expenses were somewhat similar because we did the mailing. We could look at whether we do that, but we spent $650 on a mailing to all the households in the Franklin Park area. She literally went street by street and sat with the post office and made sure that every household got a postcard. Yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare. So, but we spent $650 just on the postcards and not on her labor. And then we did $560 on the photo booth. So we did have that, and people really liked that. And there was
Oh, that's great.
we got a lot of usage.
I mean, I still have them, those things hanging up. all
Yeah,
over.
refrigerator.
Right. So, and then we, but I had 300 for catering, but that seemed low.
Well, it was still a potluck. I mean, you only got.
No, the meat, the what you got.
That does, did somebody give it?
Yeah,
give
somebody
us?
gave us, or you,
I can't remember.
yeah, because I only had $300 for catering, and I thought that was awfully low.
I thought somebody gave us stuff, but I can't remember. I might have it. in my notes.
Okay, so the bottom line is, as we currently stand, we could fund it ourselves. I would prefer not to, and I would prefer for us to actually do some fundraising through businesses. Certainly, Brad gave last time $500, another 500, but hey.
We can hit him up on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
But again, recognizing the dearth of businesses within the community, we have to go outside, but also look at people who live in the community who have businesses, and I know people, there's some issues, but people who live in the community who have businesses, see if that we can get a donation that way.
Are we gonna do table tents again?
Well, we'll figure that out, but
Because, well, that's, because basically I sold sizes.
Right.
Is what I did,
right.
for the table tents.
Okay, to
Um,
the business.
yeah.
Yeah,
So they get
Then
their
everybody-
name and likeness or whatever. on
So
it.
we can
Right,
figure out
the
what that is.
logo, the name, whatever.
So it's a business card size or something with a
Yeah,
larger. and
literally
yeah.
2 or 3 sizes, so.
So we can look at some fundraising that way, but it's also, this is a membership, activity. I really want to focus, this is membership. We'll
All
make
hands
sure we
on
get out our neighbors, our people, family, friends, everybody in the community to come out and hang out. And so that's why it's important to have some appropriate activities. In addition to our photo booth, and we talked about live music, whichever point it is.
And speaking on that, so we have a committee for the event planning. So we have a committee that deals with games and entertainment. We have a food committee. We have the silent auction committee and decorating.
Am I up?
So who's
And then we
appointed?
kind of assume you will be the lead for the silent auction meeting,
The silent
committee.
auction, the
Yeah.
silent auction, we talked
But
about
she
that.
needs help, so if anyone would like to help him,
Right,
that's a great opportunity.
I help them.
right. So please, volunteer to be on the committee. That's how it's gonna get done. We will continue discussion with FPC and C1, is the afternoon available? If the afternoon is available, we'll probably make a decision within the executive committee which one to go with. But regardless, we will observe strict COVID procedures. okay? Because we don't know what's gonna happen, but I think we can safely say there will still be a need to be safe. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah.
So we'll see if we go through. Okay, Kim?
We are going to need additional help from everybody in the neighborhood. So we need to do a big recruitment for volunteers. And it's just a lot to do. Looking at extra restrictions and stuff, we're gonna need people to escort, we're gonna need people to check things. I mean, that adds an extra burden onto us, but I think for the health of our community, it's important. So.
Okay, Eric?
That's something the engagement committee can help me with, the supply volunteers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you made a note there, JD. Okay, Brian?
We did have somebody reach out to the FPC, town by volunteer for legal, they weren't able to come tonight. But they wanted that, no more ways they could help volunteer for the event.
Okay,
Okay.
so basically, Tamika and Kirsten, I
If you
sent,
have their email, can you just forward it to me?
Yeah.
So we can reach out to them for, I will let you know.
Kirsten and Jay are in London. I sent them the Zoom link. They didn't come on.
They're still sleeping.
1:30 in the morning.
I told her, I don't understand what the problem is. I told her, you know. All right, any other general information announcements?
First,
Go ahead.
speaking of Conservatory Glow is now open through January 9th. They're gonna be closed Thursday, they're gonna be closed Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. It's highly recommended to get tickets. I think they're going to free Sunday in the afternoon of December 5th.
Right.
And then COVID is happening with January service change to December 1st, next Wednesday, 6 p.m., 7th at noon, which is hybrid, in person at CODE's headquarters downtown. Plus, it'll be streamed on Facebook Live and WebEx. And among the changes, for the east side, they're bringing back the short trips for the Main Street line and the Broad Street line. So every 15 minutes, we'll be running the short trips, then further out every half hour. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Hanukkah to our Jewish neighbors. Hanukkah begins Sunday night, sundown, and then also please celebrate, give responsibly, especially the Buckeye fans.
Somebody talk to this guy.
Julie Lynn cannot bail any of us out. Jail.
That's true.
Either take myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, next meeting.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
So last Sunday, 16 representatives of the community gardens met at Old First. Neither Lynn nor I were present, so we cannot tell you in detail what happened, but we will, bring you up to date. So that process, basically, I just wanted to alert you that the process is still ongoing. The Community Garden Association is, growing by leaps and bounds, still there. That's number one.
And I would just tie it very much to one reason why we want to gather together is because that makes a difference.
Yeah, so that was,
So that people know about it, but they also know it's that. So it's very, very effective. Thank you.
right. And then Shayla Faber is now the new executive director of CRAC. She is a resident of FPCA. I've tried to get them several times. I will once again, but I also think it's good for people just to drop a note and welcome her as an individual or as representative of a position or a business. Certainly community engagement. I would send her a note and say, this is who we are, what we're about. We look forward to working with you. Because I think the more notice she has from the ground, the better. Okay.
We need to hear a fundraising call.
A pair of fundraising call, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Whatever come to one of our meetings.
Election season.
Yeah, she came. She came to one of our,
No, he said, would she?
would she come?
I know we don't have a award system in Columbus, but given that she's like right in our neighborhood.
Now, I've invited her several times. And, there's some issues now. It may change now since she's a resident. I mean, she's always been a resident, but because of PAC, it may change. But I've also asked her to participate in some other things that she participated. So I think it's a timing issue, as is true with most of us. Okay. And then Shayla Gardens. FRC.
What about the transform phase, CBS, the facility master plan?
The traffic plan?
No, the school district.
Yes, thank you. I knew it. So did you go to East
There you
High?
go.
Could you?
Yeah, so their CPS, they're currently doing call it transform phase or their master planning of what the school district will look like in the next 10, it's more like 15 years out. But it's basically trying to figure out where schools will be located at. So they're doing planning, trying to figure out where should schools be, what areas of neighborhoods are growing, and which ones aren't, may not have as much of a need for schools. So they're doing planning to see where buildings are, what buildings aren't meeting the needs of the community, maybe more now, maybe they'll build up. So it's planning for the school district 15 years, it's the next 15 years. So it's a really big thing because in the next 15 years, our area may not have any elementary schools, and that could be a deterrent for neighbors to move to our neighborhood. It could make it more difficult for our kids. So it's super important. I don't have any kids in the school district yet, but and I'm not as familiar with the layout of Columbus, not being from Columbus. So I think it's something that's really important for natives and everyone. But if you're from Columbus or you've been in Columbus for a while, your school district, familiar with the neighborhood, it's a great opportunity to be in there and be able to get provide your feedback, your input on this matter.
Right. So this is the facilities review process of the Columbus City Schools, and it's now going to phase 6.
Right.
The meeting Tamika went to was here at East High, but for Region 3, our region, the next meeting takes place at South High School. And I can give you the date, because it does go, our district goes that way. It goes north to south as opposed to east to west. And I think it's 2 points. One, Columbus is one of the fastest growing metropolitan areas in the entire United States. But the demographics of who that is quite different because they aren't necessarily people with children. So, it was very interesting because said, well, she's got kids, but they're young. And so it's going to be a couple of years. And so it's either very young or there are no kids. All right. And when most of us, Lynn, perhaps Will here, we grew up, everybody in the community was involved in the PTA. Everybody in the community was connected to the school system. And now, because of the lottery, the changes, private schools, et cetera, we have a disconnect. And that's on one side. The other side is the state. There is a co-funding formula that the city is dependent upon for new schools or significant rehabilitation of existing schools. And the co-funding formula is based on population. And the bottom line is 1,200. So for a high school to have, and they gauge academic programs on size. So if you don't have 1,200 students in a high school, you will not get what we see as the advanced placement, the extra, all those other programs. It doesn't matter what the level of interest is, doesn't matter teacher capacity. If you don't have 1,200 students, the state will not pay. If the state doesn't pay, then the community has to pay, or it doesn't exist.
Well, that means none of our schools are.
Which is why they're now going to, so it's going to go from 114 schools to 62. And so that means that they're going to be some significant commingling.
Oh, maybe, well, not only that, but this is going to have high impact on the Franklin Park community. What if they get rid of that girls' school?
Absolutely, I mean,
We could end up with 5-story buildings in the middle of Ricky Bright Road.
exactly. Exactly, so that's why it really is important. In fact, when we went, we went to the school board last year to ask about Franklin Park, and they said, no, not until facilities review is
Right.
over.
Mhm.
So everybody's on hold, but I went last week and there was this urgent, call to the regional chairs, be sure you're there, get your people out, et cetera, et cetera. And this was at 3700 South High. I had never been there in my life. I didn't know where I was going. But anybody, you know what I'm talking about? Anyway, yeah, it's south, it's in a parking center, and it's behind, it's near a library branch and the school and whatnot. But anyway, and I thought I was in the wrong place when I walked in the room because they had chairs for 50 people and there were 2.
Wow.
And this was a meeting, this was our report to Dixon. So she's sitting there, her deputy is sitting there, and there are 4 co-chairs and 2 audience members.
Yeah, I'm surprised in the meeting at this high, I thought it would be more people, it was mostly school district people, like, they never staff. Yeah, we were surprised to see that wasn't more community members there.
I'm telling you, this
Especially
is,
because it's having a huge impact on kids, like, in the meeting, I mean, the meeting, are literally saying, oh, let's close this school, let's like, put more resources to this school, or let's close, so I don't know, in my table, I was like, advocating for our neighbors, like, no, we need this and we need that, but
you see,
other neighborhoods, what about other neighborhoods, like,
Right.
so, yeah.
because they literally put blocks out representing the elementary schools at one table, the middle schools at another, and the high. And then you were to go from table to table, and as your group determine what should be closed, what should stay open, or what should be combined. And so people had some strong feelings as to, and we're like, if you have strong feelings in this group, think of what happens when you actually go out into the community and say, okay, this is what's going to happen. And they took these discussions all around the city. And now it was a combined report. Now we're coming into the final phase. So it's really important that people actually attend these sessions, speak up, acknowledge, because 5 years from now, you can't say anything, when they start closing, closing and rebuilding. I mean, Fort Hayes is gonna look different. I mean, it's really, let me stop before I start rambling. One issue is which schools actually have existing land on which to expand? It's a very important question. Because regardless of what else, if there's already existing land, you don't have to purchase, that already reduces your capital outlay. And so a lot of other issues
Yeah, it is.
will be, so even you say, well, we don't have the people, or the issue, they said, yeah, but we have the land. So we're gonna put the school there.
Are there any schools in this district?
Well, in the
Yeah.
district, I don't know about.
I
the
know,
city.
like, other districts, I mean, Upper Arlington, like, put a new high school in the back.
Those, because I really, and again, I hadn't been in the first couple of meetings with Upper Arlington, and I was just like, okay. Let me just, send her, don't say anything, because I was highly annoyed.
And what's the date and time of that meeting again?
Let me send it out. It's, they're usually at 6. 6 on Thursday.
Okay,
So I'll post it, or I'll send you.
The next one is
The South High?
Tuesday, so next one is Tuesday, November 30th at Columbus Alternative, that's Region 6. Wednesday.
For District 3?
For District 3, it is Thursday, December 2nd at Marion.
Okay, December 2nd,
Marion.
Marion. Yeah.
December 2nd, Marion Franklin?
Yeah, 6 p.m.
Okay, thanks.
So it's not South High, it's Marion Franklin. Okay, but it is, I knew it was South. Okay, anything else?
Yeah, I have something. I know we were talking about COVID and holidays coming up, and even with the people are worried about having to pay for tests. I'm hearing a lot of people say that they want to get to buy them. They're free at the MLK Library.
Oh,
You just
yeah.
call, and they'll actually bring them out to your car or bring them out and meet you outside or something like that. So, yeah, okay.
Okay, so our next meeting is December 14th at 6:30 here.
I just have something I want everybody to put in back their heads. They are starting to allow developers to rewrite their own zoning codes for our neighborhood. One of them is actually having a meeting on Monday about it.
Oh, yeah.
But this is going to happen citywide when the vote didn't go Mr. Hodges' way at meeting. He stomped out and said, wait till we write the new zoning code for the city. Because that's gonna take everything out of any community, every community's hands. We won't even have a voice in that.
Right.
So
we need
this
to-
meeting Monday, when, where?
It is at City Council.
Oh, okay. So it's a city council meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, you can watch it. But, you know, what somebody, what one of our local politicians told me the other day was, if you don't go down to the city when these meetings are happening, they are going to tell you that nobody cared enough to come and that there was no community engagement.
Right.
So when this stuff comes up at the city, and we also need to make sure that our elected officials for our commission are heard and have voices.
Right.
I mean, taking zoning completely out of a community's hands is a pretty drastic step, especially when we have a large city council people that we can't actually go to and say, you are supposed to represent us.
Okay, motion to adjourn. Second. Favor? Opposed? Abstention? Have a nice holiday and please take all the cookies.
And all the bags.
Have a great holiday.
You too.
Thank you, Carol.
Thanks.
Thanks for being up.